Hi, sports fans. What a great day this was. I started the day with watching Manchester United against Southampton. Although it didn't went the way we wanted, I'll take a draw and I'll take hitting the 27 game record unbeaten away from home. Later in the day, I had the pleasure of watching San Francisco 49ers against the San Diego team, and in their new stadium. I have to say, I am very impressed with the stadium. Um, Probably one of the better looking stadiums in the NFL right now. It should be because it's one of the newer ones. That one and the one in Las Vegas. So it was a nice looking experience on TV. It was a great experience to see a game from there, and I expect there's going to be a lot of good games. I'm having my morning tea a little bit later in the day, but I had to have a tea in my self-made 49ers cup. I'm coming out with a sore throat, so I have a special tea for my throat. Okay, so let's dive into the 49ers game. What was the bad things? What was the good things? What can we take away from this experience that we had on TV? Because I'm not living in the area. I don't live in California. I live in Tennessee, so I'm a little bit further away than most people. So I can only base what I talk about from what I see on TV. So I'll watch the games on TV and I respond to the game that way. And hopefully, when they come and play the Titans, which is not too far away down the road, I can go and have a live game. So my takeaway from the game was there's some good, there's some bad, and there's some average stuff. And we in a preseason game, it will go like that. It will go up and down. There will be some speed bumps. There will be some things that needs to be corrected, and especially when you deal with rookies and third stringers and fourth stringers and people you have signed, free waiver signs and free agent signings. And when you have a roster right now close to like what 75, 80 people, who's going to get down to like 53, 55, you will be seeing quite a dip and highs in performance from players to players. And of course, they're not playing the first stringers as much. The first stringers maybe gets a couple of reps and that's it. Overall, 15-10. I think the game ended. I was very impressed with the team. Of course, there are certain players that I feel it's a filler, but there's genuinely it's really good competition for the spots. I feel that the guys are giving 100%, and everyone wants to capture a spot, and that's good. Yes, they have waived a few. They cut a few already. Like Rosen got cut last week. So there are always movements in and out in a team like this. So until the final roster is polished, you will have in and outs. So the performance will go up and down, and even in the game itself, and we saw that in this game that the performance went up and down. Like, look at Trey Lance. He started off a little bit shaky, and then after he was going along, you could see that he was building confidence. He was building rhythm. And as the game went on, I think he started to stand out really good. Um, I have I've been following this for a little while now, and there is a little relationship in the 49ers that are starting to develop, and I've seen it. And it's Trey Lance and Sherfield. Those two has developed a really, really good connection. So hopefully they will keep Sherfield on the team. They should, because he's one of the positives in this team that has stood out for me. Uh, and he's doing really well. I was surprised. I didn't expect much from him, but he has really surprised me, and I'm starting to like what I see from him. Is he Samuel or Ayuk caliber right now? No, but he and Sanu, I mean, they have Sanu. Last time he was with the 49ers, I was like, what is this dude doing? I mean, he was okay when he was with Atlanta, but when he came to 49ers, I was like, he's a dud. And I was not surprised when they cut him. But when they re-signed him, I was like, what are they doing? But he has also been very, very positive, and he has shown that he can be his old self. Is he going to give you the explosive 40, 50-yard dashes with a touchdown at the end, or run down 40, 50 yards and catch a huge deep ball? Probably not. But he's a red zone threat. And he's the typical catcher when you need 5, 10, 15, 20 yards. And he's good at it. He has shown lately that he's good at it. So behind Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, I see that Sanu and Sherfield are becoming maybe 3 and 4, maybe not in that order, depending on, it's random order, but they are the third and the fourth option on wide receivers right now, in my mind. And then, of course, you have the other ones. I doubt that River Craycraft will make the team. And of course, you have the old, not the old, but the older players, the veterans, that are also fighting for a spot on the team. So I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers this year maybe end up with 6 or 7 wide receivers. So, I mean, if we have that many good ones, yeah, I think we should. Quarterback and wide receivers and running backs are some players that tend to be hurt. They tend to, fall off in a 16 game season. Now it's like 17 game season. So we need backups. We need rotation players. We need players that can come in and take the load off the number 1 and 2 selection or choice in a team. Because if you play these players too much, you run the risk of really putting your team on a line for injuries. So I would be surprised if we end up with 5, 6, 7 running backs and 5, 6, 7 wide receivers. Will that kind of like take away spots for other places in the team? Possibly. It's going to be interesting to see how Kyle and 49ers are managing the who they send down to the practice squad and stuff like that too. How they deal with the injury reserve list and all that kind of stuff, because you can manipulate the team roster here in some ways. But I think, and from what I have seen, and based on what I have seen, I think we are this year in a way better spot than we were last year. I'm recording with my phone and something happened here. So I think we are in a way, way better spot this year than we were last year, both with player selection, injuries, not to forget that, but I think we're building up to something really good, and I get some good vibes about this team. I think there's something big going on. I think we will be surprised. Maybe not in game number 1, 2, and 3 this season, because it takes a little bit of time to get into a rhythm. It takes time to get things settled into places, and you get things going. But I think we'll see something special this year. Well, so let's look at some QB performances last game that we saw now, and from what's coming up, what can we expect going forward. What are my takeaways? Well, my takeaways is Jimmy is doing Jimmy. Not much to scream, oh yeah, not to be excited about, but he had one thing that was kind of like, wow, Jimmy, he got it. He scrambled for, I think it was what 12 yards, 10, 15 yards, something like that. And his legs looked fresh. But still, it can't really help him because overall his performance in this game was average at best. I want to say a little bit lackluster. He's still throwing high, putting the receivers in a awkward position and possibly getting hurt. Um, so I just think he is probably feeling the pressure. I would say he's feeling the pressure, and he's trying his best to make a positive impression on Kyle and the fans and the owner. But because you never see kind of like Garoppolo scrambling like he did and run the way he did yesterday. So you can see that he's definitely trying. But the performance itself did not elevate his stocks value, in my eyes. Maybe he made an impression on coaches and managers and stuff like that, but as a fan watching the game, I can't really say that I have seen something extraordinary or anything extra from or anything better from Garoppolo so far. Um, the game itself was, there's not much. It's a preseason game, and you don't want to go full out or in all in because you might hurt someone. But from what I saw, it was bang average at best. Nothing much to report home about. I want to say though that and this goes with both Garoppolo and Trey Lance. The receivers yesterday, I think though, because both Lance and Garoppolo was throwing high balls, that was too high, but the receivers got their hands on the balls. I think that the balls could have been caught and secured by the wide receivers or the receivers. They were absolutely catchable balls, but for some reason, I think there was a lack of concentration from the receivers' point of view. And so, do I blame the quarterbacks completely 100% by themselves? No. Those dropped passes and the interceptions that was from reflections, I thought that could have been prevented by the wide receiver if they had focused a little bit better. Focus about ball, securing the ball, not just a run, but securing the ball, and maybe have it in your mind that okay, we're playing with Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Both have a tendency in some type of situations to throw the ball or float the ball a little bit too high. If you as a receiver have that in your mind that this ball that comes now can be a little bit high, then you are prepared for it. You kind of like that you might have to extend a little bit, and try and secure the ball. If you're getting tackled, you're getting tackled, but try to secure the ball. But it's up to Jimmy to put the ball on the numbers, or at least as close to the body as possible, not like way up here. But so because we saw it when Trey Lance came on and started his drives, it was the same. It was almost the same. A little bit different though, but it was the same kind of mistakes, the same kind of like iggy thing, and it looked like he had the jitters to start off with. You could see him tripping almost, like a little bit. His legs was going like, and I think Jimmy is doing. Let's see what Jimmy and Trey is doing differently. I think Jimmy is doing this because he's anxious and nervous, and maybe about a little bit afraid. He's afraid of getting hurt. He's afraid of losing his starter job, and he's afraid to doing mistake. Okay. So that's why he's doing these things a little bit way off. Trey, on the other hand, wants to impress. He wants to show everyone that he is the dude, he is the guy. So he is maybe like doing it because he's too overly excited. He's trying too much. While Jimmy is kind of restricting himself. Lance is like the ketchup bottle. He's just... He needs to restrain himself a little bit. But this dude, he needs to release himself a little bit. So you have two different opposite problems that kind of like tend to end up in the same mistakes. One thing I want to say is both of them are equally easy to correct if they have the want to and they want to do it. They can easily fix it. I wouldn't say that the positive thing when Trey Lance came in was he went into halftime. When he came back out, he looked like a totally different quarterback. The dude that went into the locker room was not the same dude that came out of the locker room. It seemed that's what it seemed to me, and I think that maybe someone talked to him in there and said, "Calm down, take it easy. You don't have to throw a rocket every time." And you saw it on the one ball that he threw kind of like a little loop on to Sherfield, that Sherfield was running down the sideline with. It wasn't a rocket pass. It wasn't like a 250-mile-an-hour ball. It was a floater. It was like he had a little arch to it, and it was like a pass with a feel. You could see the feel in the ball. Something early in the game, it would have been just and a rocket down, and it would have probably been not caught because of the position of the receiver. That was when it started to like, okay, if you can keep it on at this level, you will see something really cool. And you saw it as they progressed down the field towards the end zone and the red zone. You could see it, and the pass to Sanu that turned into a touchdown wasn't a feel type of pass with a high feel and arching and kind of like a little dip here and there. That was speed and power. But Sanu, and I think it was like, what was it, like 10, 15, 20 yards pass at the most. Officially, maybe it's like 8 or 9, but he dropped back and threw it. And you saw it had power on it. And I think his reasoning was you had two defensive players, one on each side of Sanu, which after the catch and the touchdown was given, you can see they were like, "Oh, why didn't you, cover him?" And you can see the ball came so fast, and it was thrown so hard. I think it was too fast for the defensive players to position themselves and react to it. Yeah, it was a good run by Sanu, and he got himself open, but the pass, when from the time it left his hand to it was received by Sanu, it was like, and the defensive players was like, why didn't you cover him? Why didn't you cover him? So you could see that he has the best of both worlds if he just calms down a little bit. He's trying too hard, but when he starts to calm down and he starts to like get into the groove and the vibe and like, oh yeah, you can go do this, then you see the passes with the feel, the accuracy, the dips. He can freaking throw the ball to land on a freaking stamp 50 yards down the ball in the field. We've seen that earlier this year in training camp and stuff like that. He has those long balls, dialed in. What I want to see from him is improving the short balls and the medium range balls that doesn't need the full speed and the full power behind it to be more of a delicate thing. He needs to become more delicate in his throwing. Not saying that his throwing is bad, but sometimes he's just unleashing the full raw power on a 15-20 yard pass, and you don't need it. You don't need it every time. Sometimes, yes. Every time, no. But I mean, with Lance, I think we have a bright future at quarterback position in the 49ers. He has the ability, he has the athleticism, he has the mental knowledge about football to become just as good as Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, and anyone else that has played the game. He just needs time. He needs reps. He needs experience. Because let's face it, out of the 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks that was picked first and second round in this draft, he is probably the quarterback with the least amount of experience. And he's still this good. That's the scary part about it. That is the scary, scary, scary part about it. He is the one quarterback with the least amount of experience, but he's still one of the best. He just needs a little bit of guidance. He needs a little bit of experience. He needs reps, and with time, I mean, do we expect too much of him this year? Maybe. Are we putting too much pressure on him this year? Maybe. But if he is the way I think he is, he can handle it. So, what do I think about the game last night? When the game was over, when the final whistle ended the game. At the end of the game, I was satisfied with what I saw as a preseason game. You don't have to go too many years back. Well, if you go back to the Singletary era, we had some poor preseason games. We had some good preseason games. But with Kyle Shanahan, we know there's a theme coming up. You know that the playbook is good. We have seen the last 2, 3, 4 years what we can do. And I think we now are in the position again where we can take it all the way. So at the end of the game at the last playing game that we saw now, I want to say that 15-10, not a huge win, but it was a good win. If you know what I'm talking about, it wasn't like a showcase or a show off, because preseason games are not for that. So as a preseason game, it goes down in the history books as a good one. I liked what I saw. I liked what I saw from individuals, because I tried to kind of I didn't focus too much on Trey versus Garoppolo, because a football team is way more than just QBs. I want to see who got utilized and who was put on the field to do what. I liked what I saw from Sanu. He's still keep impressing me from where he was a couple of seasons ago. So he's becoming a positive thing for me. I really liked what I saw from Sherfield. He keeps on doing amazing stuff, and I think he and Lance are building something special here. So I like that. I liked what I saw from Trey Lance. I also liked what I saw with Hasty. Hasty tried. He was used a lot in the game yesterday, and I think I know why. Is he secured a spot on the team? Most likely. Most likely he secured a spot as maybe like a fourth string, fifth string running back. Because you have Mostert, Sermon, Gallman, Hasty, and there's a couple of others. I think they want to see if Hasty could take the workload that he got yesterday, because he worked his butt off yesterday, and I think he did good. I think he did well. Nothing special, but he did okay. I like what I saw from Gallman. We have a lot of outside run threats, and I think that Mostert likes to run outside, even though he can run inside too. And Sermon, I think, I haven't seen too much of Sermon, but I think he can do both. But Gallman, yesterday, I think today, he run up the middle, and I thought he did good. There was one run there where he had three defensive players right in front of him. There was 2 and 1 in the back, so it's almost 2 fronters and a little safety behind him when he came running up in the middle. And he just run through those 3 like a hot knife in the butter. And I think that was when he got a first down on it, and I think he run, it was somewhere between 12 and 16, 17 yards somewhere. And it was just I was that's something you used to see Frank Gore do, but Frank Gore would do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yards. Now, Gallman is bigger, way bigger than Frank Gore. And I feel now that we have runners that can run on the outside We have runners that can go up in the middle. And I think that I'm starting to see a pattern here. And that is Mostert and Sermon and Gallman are 1, 2, and 3 on the depth chart. I think the running back spot is starting to solidify itself. The other one that kind of impressed me was Benjamin. He had a good game. He did some good stuff. He received a good ball from Trey. And I thought he did he put in a good workload. So he's also in the receiver core. We have a lot of good receivers this year. I can't remember. Let me see. If I try to remember, how far back do we have to go when we had a receiver core this stacked, this good? I'm talking, here we have Benjamin, Sherfield, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and I'm sure it's like one or two more, Craycraft and whatever. But you have to also think about it. Other players that can work as receivers are Juszczyk for the short ones, red zones. If you need 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 yards, Kittle, Dwelly, all of these guys can receive the ball in the air. We have a receiving core right now that are so good, so stacked, so deep. I don't think we have had it in years, if we have had it at all. I mean, I've been watching the 49ers since 1981. Yes, I'm that old. And I remember watching the heydays with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and stuff like that. And back in the 80s, we had 3 or 4 good receivers. But outside of that, there wasn't much. Like, you had some fillers and some backups. And then in the 90s, it wasn't really that good. 2000s, same. And from 2012, let's look at the Harbaugh era. Yeah, you had some good receivers then. You had Crabtree and you had your Vernon Davis and as in tight end, but the depth, we didn't pose a lot of threat in the receiving core under the Harbaugh era. Under Harbaugh, it was a lot of running. It was a lot of throwing too, but it was a lot of running, and they relied a lot on at the end Kaepernick, running the ball. And I mean, if you look at each team, even the early teams under Kyle Shanahan haven't had this depth in the wide receiver core or the receiving core in general. It is, it's stacked. I mean, it is stacked. Think about it. Sit down and think about it. Go through the lists. I mean, I don't have it in front of me right now, but go through each year under different coaches and look what kind of receiving core the 49ers have been posting. This year, I mean, the last 2 years, you have had, Emmanuel Sanders was in here, and then you had, of course, Deebo Samuel. Last year, you had Deebo and Ayuk and a couple others. It's not that great when you look at it. It was good, but it's not great. This year, it's great, and this is why I'm so stoked. I mean, we have Benjamin, Ayuk, Deebo, Sherfield, Sanu. I'm not going to even count Craycraft and a couple others. So that's 5 wide receivers right there. Then you have 2 tight ends in Dwelly and Kittle. And then you have Juszczyk, who can be utilized as a receiver in short passes. Red zone passes. That's 8 players. We have 8 players that can function as a receiver. That's good. We have almost the same thing on the running back side. The only thing that really concerns me is the offensive line. We have some type of depth in the defense, but there's certain areas there, maybe corner, that is a little bit fragile. When we come talking about depth, what we have is good, but if some of them get injured or hurt, oh, I don't know. But we looked stacked. We looked really stacked, and I'm happy about that. Well, I think that was it. We won, and we deserved to win. We were the better team. Trey Lance continues to impress me. Sherfield continues to impress me. Sanu is a positive, fresh air. I think we're in a good spot. I'm not going to take too much time posting about negative things right now, because it's all about building up a positive vibe around the team. The team has to build up positive reps and create their own little bubble of good things. So it's not my job or my interest to sit here and talk shit and tear them down. So more videos are coming. We're just starting up. I'm almost I'm gonna start today, in fact. Well, tomorrow. I'm gonna start tomorrow. This room, this office of mine, is gonna be changed. I'm gonna set up my area over here with filming and recording and stuff, and get my shelves up with some memorabilia and stuff like that. So things are changing, and stuff is coming. So subscribe, guys, if you like what you hear. And I know it's another fan channel, but it's my point of view. I'm going to try and give my point of view a little bit differently than others. So, hey, if you want to subscribe, come on, join the family.